Joining me now is Wendy Weyer, Seattle Schools Director of Nutrition Services. Welcome, Wendy. Good to have you here. A lot of enthusiasm with those young people. What surprised you most about this taste test?
I think we expected going into it that some of the student favorites like pizza, and we were offering them a whole grain variety of pizza, that kids would be pretty accepting to that. We were a little creative with our central kitchen in producing some new items. So we did a tiki masala and also a butternut squash curry that we tried with students. And we were actually excited to see that they were willing to try the dish. They were really excited about it. And what we're trying to do with this is get the kids, once they see those items on the menu, we want them to be excited back in their schools, telling their friends that, hey, let's try that dish today for lunch.
Take a chance.
Yes.
It's not going to be that bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Breakfast lunch programs are available in all Seattle public schools?
Yes, all schools in Seattle offer a breakfast program, typically about 15 to 20 minutes before the start of the school day, and all schools offer kind of a traditional lunch program.
Are the meals free for some students?
They are. We participate in the National School Lunch and School Breakfast Program, and as a participant in that, families have the opportunity to complete an application to determine if they're eligible for free or reduced price meals in our district.
How do you go about deciding what's going to be on the menu for breakfast or for lunch?
Well, it has gotten more complicated over the last several years. The menus are planned here at our central office by our operations manager. We get input from our staff on things that kids are enjoying, but also things that kids are asking for. But we do have some new federal standards that are making the menu planning process a bit more complicated.
How's that?
So back in 2010, as part of the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act, we really came into a new era in nutrition standards for school meals. Very much good things. More whole grains, lower sodium foods, lower sugar, calories that were right for a student's grade group, more variety of fresh fruits and vegetables. But we've found that students have not always been accepting to some of the changes.
So the federal nutrition standard is something you really have to think about here now.
Correct. It's made it a little bit more complicated to plan out the menus. And for us, we're a program that relies on student participation. And so we have had some challenges with getting students to accept some of the new menu items. But we're continuing to try to offer students still a large variety of choices.
Do you work with families at all in trying to determine what might work?
We have done some. We have done some family nights where we've invited families in to try some new recipes, but we are recognizing it's something that we need to do some more of, get more family input into the menus.
And what about the students and trying to get them to accept these new styles of foods?
Yeah, so the taste test, the food fair event that we held in September was one of our first attempts to kind of bring the students in. It's been a long time dream of mine to kind of create a kid-tested, kid-approved style to our menus where we could have icons on our menu that let kids know that this is something that I participated in, I gave my stamp of approval on. We are going to launch into a new program called NutriSlice where students will actually be able to go online and provide us feedback. And families will be able to provide us some feedback on the menu so that we can do a better job of gathering some of that data to inform our menus for the future.
Boy, how this has changed from the time that when we were young.
Yes,
probably
technology
in school
definitely has.
now, getting feedback right away. Let's talk about breakfast. We often hear that that's the most important meal of the day. So what are you doing to encourage kids to at least have breakfast or think about having breakfast, because that's a real challenge?
Right. Breakfast really is an underutilized program here in Seattle, and we've done a lot of work trying to figure out the whys behind it. I think a lot of families aren't aware that breakfast is available to students, but as we've said earlier, in all of our schools, breakfast is available to students. We're trying something new this year. We've launched into a couple of pilots that are focusing on a grab-and-go style of breakfast. So in two of our secondary schools, we actually have a kiosk that we've set up at the entry to the building where we have grab-and-go bags that are full of a complete breakfast, a nice high-quality breakfast for students that they can grab and take with them either to the dining room, to their lockers, or even to their classrooms and eat that breakfast right before school starts.
Is the idea for that really based on the fact that kids tend to not eat at home,
Yeah.
but they're rushing to their next, to
Yeah, that
whatever
was-
they're doing next.
That was the challenge that we were looking at. These two schools that we're piloting in offer a free breakfast program to students. So we knew that it wasn't a monetary reason that students weren't participating. And what we thought of in trying this pilot was if we brought the food to them, put it really in a convenient place, we made it cool, we made it exciting, could we get more kids participating? And it has been successful so far.
You know, one of the big challenges in our society is an unfortunate challenge, and that is that we're seeing a growing number of young people, children with childhood obesity. What are you trying to do as you prepare the breakfasts and the lunches and the whole meal program?
So I think definitely the new meal standards that have come from the federal government are helping us really create an environment where the school meal program, where students may be being offered one or two of their meals during the day. We're really trying to make sure that those meals are wholesome and nutritious meals for students. The new federal guidelines have us looking at really making sure that students are getting foods in the right portions and and controlling calories. But we're also hoping to improve kind of the nutrition education that comes to students. As we're offering these things like whole grain breads for students, we want to start working on getting kids to understand why that's important. But really, it's all about a balance too. We want to make sure that students are eating healthy food, but also being physically active too.
Yeah, and also trying to get them to eat on a regular basis,
Correct.
I imagine is a big challenge as well.
Right.
Vending machines in the schools, what are you trying to do regarding that as far as providing healthy meals too?
So as part of the new federal standards, actually in July of this year, we have a new regulation that's come in called the Smart Snacks regulations, and the district needed to update its policies regarding what foods could be sold to students during the school day. The new Smart Snack regulations are very similar to Seattle's previous policy in this area. It's competitive food policy, which is looking at not only the calories of food, but also the sugar content, fat content, etc. Trying to make sure that as students go to those vending machines or student stores, they're getting a healthy choice being offered to them. And that healthy choice mirrors also what we're doing in the cafeteria as well. So we're trying to create this really a healthy school environment. So no matter where they go to, they have similar types of things being offered to them.
We all know that kids can be picky eaters. I mean, I was a picky eater as a little kid. My son was a picky eater as a young boy. I don't know that it's changed all that much. But that is something that you still have to also deal with. And how are you working with, I suppose, families and others to try to address all of this?
So, we try and do quite a bit of nutrition education with families, really in what we consider kind of a community type setting, providing nutrition education through our websites, working with public health on things that they're doing in the classrooms. But I know I have picky eaters, my own children, which is very difficult when you're a dietitian in charge of a nutrition program to have some of the same challenges at home. But one of the things that I would try to encourage families to do is get kids involved early in the process. Get them in the kitchen, get them involved in preparing the family meal. But also, I've encouraged families to take kids on the field trip to the grocery store. I think the produce area, especially the different types of vegetables and fruits that are out there, are great opportunities for families to use that as kind of a learning lab. A lot of the grocery stores now have nutrition information actually at the grocery store. But one of the things I started doing with my kids was, I'd kind of see where they had some peaks of interest in something that was looked unusual or looked a little strange, and we'd buy that item and take it home and kind of do our own little taste test with it, whether it was jicama or a tangelo, a beet, something that you don't eat on a regular basis, but just trying to encourage kids, even at home, to be a little bit adventurous with food.
Are you finding kids having more interest in getting to know about food and about what healthy food could be, should be?
I do. I think that we are making a lot of positive strides. I think we still have a long ways to go. I've had a lot of parents that have contacted me who've said, I'm amazed at what my kids know about foods that I've never even tried myself. So I think the more that we can do to continue to talk about healthy eating with students, we'll have those kids being educators to their families. But the ultimate goal is that we're building students to be healthier adults.
That's right. Wendy, thank you very much. It's very important we encourage kids to eat healthier foods, an important lesson that really that's going to impact them the rest of their lives, and maybe they can teach their own children to eat healthy as well. Thank you very much.
I agree. Thank you.
And lifelong lessons about physical activity are equally important for all students. Let's take a look.